Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Good morning, Africa. Welcome to the another episode of the podcast Africa the Next Big Thing. We have completed 24 episodes today and we are about to end the season 1. So next week the guest who is coming with us, like, she is one of the top investors. She's one of the most influencer person in Dubai. She's going to come, and that's going to be the last episode for season 1. But remember, season 2 is coming soon, where we are going to bring lot of investors, lot of African entrepreneurs, lot of African businessmen. They are going to come. So today, the guest that we are having, he's coming again on the podcast, Mr. Kenny Odugbemi. He's a huge man. Last time we discussed about ethics, but today we are going to discuss something which is really serious right now. It's related to technology. I also brought a lot of a guest earlier who spoke about technology, digital, and everything which is coming in the market. So Mr. Kenny is back with us, and you know that he is the CEO at Inspection and Facilities Management Service Limited. He's also pastor. He does a lot of things, and he's a cool man. He's somebody who has a lot of knowledge, experience, and lot of skills. And here he comes. He's live with us. Hello, Mr. Kenny.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Welcome back. You are the first person who is coming back to this podcast again.
Oh, thank you very much. That shows the level of commitment and dedication and the belief I have in you. You are one of the rare young men who has carved a global niche in terms of addressing the need, in terms of acting at niche of time to create a direction and a focus to the next continent that will take over the entire world, which is African continent. And I assure you, in year 2050, we will be we'll have a population of 250 billion. That shows that if you look at where to invest, Africa is the best option. You will also see now that there is a glut in the global market. In the entire continent, quite a lot of variables are getting on wrong. People are finding very difficult. Recession is gradually coming in. Inflation
Yes.
is taking up from a single to double digit. We're telling you now that Africa is the next home.
Yes. And thank you so much, Mr. Kenny, for coming over here again. And now the serious questions I'm going to ask you straight away, because yes, last time we did introduction, everything has been done. My serious questions, I have prepared a lot of serious questions for you today. The thing is, recently Amazon has fired 11,000 employees. Metaverse has fired 10,000 employees. Now, even in India today, one company, Unacademy, has fired 350 employees. They say that these employees, they are not digital. They don't know anything about digital, and if today you don't know anything about digital, they don't need these employees. So my question, the very first question to you is, why Africa is lacking behind when it comes to technology? They are still not adopting it when they know that yes, now everything is moving digital. So why are they not adopting the technology?
Thank you very much for that very thought-provoking question. It shows
Yeah.
that you are duly concerned about issues in Africa. You will see
Yes.
clearly now that Africa generally, in adoption of technology, we are seriously lacking behind. But that is not saying that some countries are not at the top of the are not operating at the niche of moment. We must correct that kind of insinuation. For instance, it's on record that Rwanda is leading in the production of chips and also production of their indigenous mobile telephone. It is Kuni. And it's also on record that Kenya too is treading behind them, as well as Tanzania. So if we say Africa, we need to now be sieving Africa one by one. Some have commenced a trajectory of development in technology. But let us now come and address the real issue. Why Africa is not adopting technology is because the Africa generally, we have corruption in our DNA, in our bloodstream. You know, when you have a DNA, when you have character, when you carry a characteristics in the DNA, it means that characteristic will be passed from generation to generation. You will see now that it is appalling in Africa, to be candid, that in entire Africa we are seeing more of digital illiterate leaders who don't even understand anything when it comes to technology. Typical example is where we are, Nigeria. Nigeria, for instance, is the giant of Africa. And interestingly, you will see now that adopting technology has been a problem because they believe in man-to-man interaction. So that because it's based on this interaction, they can do commit their fraud. You will see now that, for instance, if you look at governance structure is supposed to be on digital growth. That is, we are now having a digital platform where we talk about government to government platform, government to people to public platform, government to investors platform, and entrepreneur, and government to direct foreign investment. You will see now that across all this board, we only have it as a mainframe, but across Africa, they don't implement such platform because what? They lack transparency. There's no integrity. Our leaders are not credible. What they do is looting with impunity. It is true. There's no perfect governing system across the world. But technology is supposed to bring accessibility, availability, reliability, improve on speed, improve on transparency. But you see clearly now that because they know now that technology will unravel the mysteries of their shenanigans in terms of their corruption, they will not adopt technology. I will give you a typical example in Nigeria, because Nigeria being the giant of Africa, we should serve as a living example. Let me give you a typical example. You know, Nigeria is an oil buy. We have an oil refinery. Oil contributed about 10% of our GDP, and all our revenue, we earn 90% from oil and also foreign direct investment. It may interest you that despite the investment we had to establish a monitoring platform to enhance the performance, do you know now that as we see now, we don't migrate to that platform? That's the reason why now that there's so much of oil theft to the tune of more than 400,000 barrels per day. They steal per day, which means if you look at it, we're losing over 80% of our production. For instance, our production quota is supposed to be 1.5 million barrels per day. But as of now, we are operating on 1.04. It very be 1.04, 1.5. That shows you how much is stolen, because of the fact that if we had adopted what we call a cable telemetry, through which we'll be able to monitor the digital flow, we'll be able to achieve the resources. That is one. Even if we talk about sensors, sensors is supposed to be digital. But do you know that in Nigeria, as a typical example, we keep on migrating. We have BVN, where we have all those people on the network. We have we have our INET card, but as of today, there is no interconnection between all the platform, strictly because they want to because of fraudulent practices. There's no data convergence, because if there's data convergence, it means that there will be across board and there will be backward and forward integration in data migration. But I can assure you, we do not have that because of fraud. That's the reason why that in African region, the budget, if you look at the budget interface, you will see clearly that the budget for technology is less than 5% across Africa, whereas it's technology that drives the whole system. So basically, the reason why they don't adopt technology in Africa is because of fraud, is because they want to manipulate. It's because of undue interferences. It's because of the fact that they want probity and accountability. It is because there's no transparency. It is because when you do that, there will be going to technology will ensure low cost and accountability. So as of now, there in fact is a kind of norm across Africa, whereas some of our people who are in the diaspora are topping the list. But immediately they come to Africa, they get involved with this corrupt tendency, this DNA. Even if you have the system, they will corrupt the system. Because you will see now that if you look at an ecosystem, you need the people, you need technology, you need process, and you need environment to operate. If you
Yes.
look at the intersection of what I've said, it is the people that serve as intersection, because without the people, they cannot be processed. Nobody will implement process. And without technology, you cannot some sort of ensure as availability of process before you're able to do a dynamic operation. So what it means is that people-centric attitude as it relates to corruption, it is why technology is unpopular in Africa. And
Yes.
despite the effort, the renowned effort of analysts like us, talking about the digital bold world, but you will see now that because some of us who are savvy, who are intelligent, we are not at the table of discussion. Because there's one, if you are not at the table of discussion where affairs is being discussed and you don't make contribution, there's no way you can implement any technology. So we have non-stant as our leaders. We have leaders who are egocentric. We have leaders who are a public disgrace and public discourse in Africa. We have leaders who are illiterate. Can you imagine in Africa, somebody at 86 still want to be a leader?
Wow.
We won't even
So
handle ordinary
yeah.
food. We have seen a case when people are reading, are bench on wheelchair, they still want to rule. Can you imagine where we have problem? Even where you have youth in it, because of the DNA in the corruption, also they create an impunity. So the fear of the second of the youth now is even the beginning of wisdom now. Because we in Africa, instead of using technology to do what is right, they do Yahoo plus, in order to dupe and to defraud people. You will see each puppy is from Nigeria. You can imagine the kind of IQ each puppy have to defraud people in the world. So those who knows it are using it for criminal tendency. Those who should have adopted it are not in a position of power. So there's a need for an overhaul of entire process. There's a need to us to recalibrate our society. There's a need for us to restructure our thought and mind. There's a need for us to adopt in totality technological drive, because that is the fourth industrial revolution. That is the problem of Africa. That is the problem of Nigeria, and that's the problem of most of the people within the continent. Even the issue of insurgents. Can you imagine? We cannot even deploy CCTV. You can imagine in Nigeria, terrorists went to prison yard and they cannot get the footprint because they turn off the CCTV. Is it not appalling? Can you
Yeah.
imagine in Nigeria?
Yeah.
That a lot of fraud cannot be detected. That's why we cannot do any consequence action, because people are deliberately corrupt, and we have hegemony of rulership. There's no leader in Africa. To the best of my knowledge, we have hegemony of leadership who are bent on who are so corrupt that anything that has to do with technology, it will be a second fiddle. But anything that is manual, signing this, signing that, falsifying figure. In fact, most of them in authority don't have right certificate, because some of them, their certificates are forged. If people don't have the knowledge, they don't have the consequence, how would they appreciate technology? That's the reason why we have problem in Africa.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kenny. For your openness, like you have mentioned all those points, which are very necessary, whether it comes to, like I would say, corrupt leaders that you tried to mention. And yes, there is a lot of corruption, bribe, and all these things. But now, my question to you over here is that how universities of Africa can play a big role in digital Africa, to be honest, because, universities are the one, let's say, for example, if they adopt all this digital technology and the things that are coming in the market to their universities, because they have a lot of students, if they adopted themselves, then yes, it would help, because again, in the end, Africans, they are not adopting the trend which is coming in America. This trend came, Americans are making 10,000, $20,000 per month, and if somebody learn that model, they can also make 5 to 10,000 dollars per month while sitting in Nigeria, and they are working in USA. While sitting in their home, they are working outside, and they can also make a lot of money. So why universities are not taking initiative right now, and how can they play a huge role when it comes to digital Africa?
Thank you very much again. I always love your question. You are a dynamic, you are a genius, a dynamic young man indeed. Now, let us be frank. The first problem I told you is a DNA, leaders who have DNA corruption in their bloodstream. The other one now is this: we have infrastructure decadence. Because there is no, in fact, I can tell you, hardly can you get a broadband capacity that is efficient in Africa, despite the amount of resources we have. You will see clearly now that even the university community has been politicized. Quite a lot of people who assume position in the university do not assume that position by virtue of competence. They get into that position by interference and by who they know. It is true, some of them read abroad, but application of the knowledge when it comes to Nigeria because of politicking has caused a paradigm shift. You will see now that if you look at carefully in US, I'm from, and you are aware of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley generates great idea to support the fourth industrial revolution in US. Yes. But come to Nigeria, come to Africa. I've told you, and I'll still repeat it again. We have few African countries who are making a headway. And I can tell you, Ghana is part of it. Rwanda is part of it. Tanzania is part of it. Kenya is part of it. So when we're talking about Africa, we need to mention countries that are making giant stride. You will see now that a lot of students in Nigeria run to Ghana. Because of what? Because of they can have enhanced interconnectivity. And because the total population of Ghana is 4.5. And we are in Nigeria, we are about 240 million. And because of corruption, because of the fact that we have not established a broadband base, for instance, let me be frank with you. Before you can do intra-network, there's intra-network, you must have a satellite gateway. Is that not so?
Yes.
Before you can move extranet and intranet, you must have a satellite gateway. Can you know that in Nigeria of today, as the giant of Africa, the satellite that we have, we didn't renew the license. Do you know now that the satellite communication, we're using a marine cable that is being laid by one of the mobile network operator, which is Glow. You can imagine what is happening here. So what we're talking about now, that most universities were politically motivated. Some of the universities are cited in an area because of political reasons. And some of the lecturers do not have the right competencies. For instance, in assigning professorship, we have a crop of Nigerians who will come and decide who will be a professor. But you find out quite a lot of all these people they put in professorship cannot even deliver. There's no patenting to their right. They have their right. I'm not condemning them. Some of them are doing quite a lot. For instance, in terms of research and development, we're so backward because of the fact that the curricula we have does not reflect the true status that we have now in Nigeria. You find out that there's a dynamism in the entire global market because of because of some force majeure, which has created a paradigm shift, a disruption in the system, such as COVID-19, such as Russian and Ukrainian war. These are things we do not envisage, but they came and it caused a paradigm shift. But if you look at Africa, for instance, in Nigeria, I'll give you a typical example. Do you know now that Nigerian government cannot pay lecturer money?
Wow.
Nigerian government negotiated with them over a successive administration, but they went on strike for over 1 year. Their curricula has not changed, and you have a lot of brain drain. How can they now back industry? The most lecturers those who are dynamic have gone on brain drain. Those who are in it are old with weak bones that cannot make research, that cannot even conform with the digital bold world. That is the problem of university. That's why they are not supporting. Those universities that are even doing well now are private universities in Nigeria, but they charge a cutthroat price. And incidentally, because most of the courses they are even offering does not reflect the true state of the society. So which means the graduate from this university remain unemployable. But because most of the people that go to university are from people from a wealthy home, Immediately if it's finished, they go to Africa. They go out of Nigeria to US, where they will be able to reintegrate into the society by doing 1 or 2 courses before they get into the mainstream. And you will even see now that the problem with university is, who are the people making decisions for university? I will give a typical example. You have a minister of education that is not competent to handle any issue. You have a minister of labor who is a medical doctor that cannot handle conflict resolution. And as of today, the conflict has degenerated in such a way now that even when they had an agreement, there's no formal sealing of that agreement, and they're being paid half of their salary because they said no work, no pay. You can see the typical sense of Nigeria. So how can a university be positioned to support it, to support technology, to offer industrial revolution? You will even see we have 3 tiers of university in Africa. There are private universities that are owned by individuals who charge a cutthroat price, who will now do curriculum, who adopted US curriculum, UK curriculum in Nigeria.
Yes. Yes.
If you are operating a curriculum UK, Nigeria, how does it reflect our problem? How does it solve our problem? That is one. We have state universities that are underfunded, that are under the captivity of the governors of the state, because it's the governor that provides the budget. So if you don't dance to the tune of the governor, you won't see. And because some of these people are politically chosen, corruption is the order of the day. Then we have federal university. That one is an appalling. It's an appalling in the sense that federal government is supposed to do what we call tertiary intervention. State is supposed to do secondary intervention, and the primary intervention should be across the local government. And because those governments have failed us woefully, we have a problem. And also, university cannot support technology because, one, let's talk about it. Most of the federal universities are supported by fiscal revenue from fiscal allocation from the federal government. The state also support their own. But you will see clearly now that because of corruption, universities are exposed to 5 sources of revenue. 1, fiscal allocation from the federal government. If it's not federal government, state will provide funds to support it. 2, we have endowment. 3, we have donor. 4, we have research and grants. 5, we have various business ventures that the university create an enabling environment with a view to have a percentage cut. Then we have research, sellable research. But I can tell you, most of the VCs across university, they all mismanage this affair. So they will say we're underfunded. It is true, government cannot provide all the funds university need. But if the people who are savvy, who are competent, who are patriotic, and are running a university with a good intention, with a good vision, the source of revenue I've listed is enough. But what we have seen is looting with impunity. That is why university cannot support the development of 4th industrial revolution in Africa.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I totally understand, Mr. Kenny, like what the points that you have really mentioned right now. And yes, but now I think the universities have to do, because just morning I just read a news today. 40,000 new cases of COVID-19 has come in China. And Mr. Jeff Bezos this morning, the owner of Amazon, the founder of Amazon, just said that the biggest recession is going to come all around the world. So better, this is the time, let's go digital, because many companies, they are firing their all employees, and the number one reason they are all getting fired, because these employees, they don't know what is digital revolution, what is digital technology, what is new trends. They don't know how to handle social media, they don't know how to make money from social media, they don't know how to do branding through social media. So due to this, companies are firing. So my last question to you, Mr. Kenny, over here is that as an individual, how can we all play a dominant role when it comes to digital revolution, and how can we convince the university owners, chancellors, everybody, that they should adopt this model as soon as possible before it's too late? Because every day new things are coming. Russia Ukraine war, today 45,000 cases are coming in China. COVID-19 has come back again. So many things are coming back. So when are we going to move to digital? Because if we don't move to digital as soon as possible, it will be a huge economic collapse all over the world. Only those countries are going to survive which have moved digital, especially United States of America. Now even Indians are going digital. That's why they are surviving. So when Africa will wake up? So how as an individual, what we can do? Yes, please.
Let's talk. I like that question. First, the problem of leadership. Because leadership is to create direction
Yes.
and sense of purpose. So when you don't have a purposeful leadership that is visionary, they say my
Yeah.
people perish because they lack vision. Because if somebody is not visionary, who is not visionary, is in position of power, how do you accept them to even be able to evaluate the impact of technology? So what we should do first is to tackle the issue of leadership. Leadership in the sense that, one, you don't need a multitude to create a paradigm shift. You only need few who has the vision to move on. I'll give a typical example. In Emirate, that is in UAE,
Yes.
the leadership are the one that are visionary to create a new direction, and they create a pace. The leaders are very few, they're not many. If you look at the Emirate, the total leadership cannot be more than 150 across the region.
Yeah.
But now, because they follow the vision of the king, and also the strategic roadmap which everybody conform with, comply with, you will see now that the development is at the same pace across the UAE region. But the first problem we should look for now is being able to elect leaders who have a vision of digital bold world. Our problem we have here in Africa is that people who really understood what to do in the digital bold world are not rich. They are not well connected, but they have competence. And we only have charlatan, corrupt leader, looters, who can do stomach infrastructure, who can use money to buy the conscience of the people. They will corner the power. Do you see the problem we have now? That is one of the major problems. Until Africa decide to say, yes, in some specific sector, there is a need for them to adopt an independent candidacy. That is, even if a party wins an election, they need to sort out for people of proven integrity, an independent candidate that's not on party affiliations. I will give a typical example. Dr. Akinwumi is the president of African Development Bank. You can see what the young man is doing there. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is also the DG of World Trade International. You know that. You can see the direction they're following because of the fact that the environment they were in support that drive. So what we should do now is there's a need to overhaul and redirect an environment, create an ecosystem that will facilitate and enable us to put square peg in square hole. Until we do that, we are going nowhere. Because what we have experienced in Africa is that we have corrupt leaders who are not competent, who are illiterate, who have stolen so much money, who don't have conscience in position of authority. In Nigeria, for instance, almost every people in the position of power, their children school abroad. Even the Minister of Education, the child is schooling abroad. All the governor, their children school abroad. How would they value education? How would they feel the pain of having their children? In all the parastatals is corruption galore, looting with impunity, bloated budget. They will create an increase in budget, ghost worker, and because they don't adopt technology. You can see that the problem we have in Africa is people-centered problem. And because of the level of poverty, it has created an abnormal situation. Take, for instance, in Nigeria, multidimensional poverty index that we created gave a figure that we have 65% of Nigeria who are multidimensionally poor. That is access to quality education, quality employment. And come and see the money that we are owing 71 trillion. You now ask the question, what did they do with the money we're owing?
Yes.
Is it not a thing to worry about? The northern protectorate in Nigeria, they have poverty level of over 90-something%. And yet, the people in power are from the north. The looting with impunity we have across all the sector, they are northerners. So
Right.
they have so much of liquidity and on a person in personal purse. Look at what we're doing. We bring our policy. They will twist the policy, the cabal will twist the policy to themselves because there's no technology to monitor. Right now, we have petrol scarcity, and yet we are the ones supplying crude oil. You will see what is that. So what we do is that until Africa have a reawakening consciousness to understand that there are certain sector that should not be done through party affiliation. We have to look for people that are tried and tested with integrity. And also we give them free hand to operate. If they're going to recalibrate, if they're going to do restitution, if they're going to do a lot of overhauling to the system, if they're going to facilitate a machinery out of which if you embezzle, you will pay the money back. Look at China, what they're doing to those who do corruption. Until you handle people by hand, people will never change. Until you set a precedent, until we set a consequence action, we're going nowhere. That's why Africa will continue to be backward. Yet, we have the highest resources in the whole world.
Yes. No, I just appreciate, what you have just said. I've, totally understand the exactly like the pain also. I just saw like when you were speaking, like, yes, you are also worried so much that you want that, yes, this thing should be implemented because we are living in digital era now. So my only one concern over here is, Mr. Kenny, and this is my last kind of a, just I want to wrap it up because yesterday only, one guy, he added me to a WhatsApp group. He's from Nigeria, and he showed me that he has 3 groups on WhatsApp where there are more than 700, 600, 500 students who are talking about digital and all. And I spoke to some of them yesterday, and they said, sir, we want to implement all these digital things, we want to learn, but it's not coming in Nigeria. So we are spending huge money in USA, we are spending huge money online courses, we are buying huge money because our universities are not adopting this model. So what should we do? So I also told them that, see, I'm also planning something related to this in Nigeria and in Africa as well. But now they said that, sir, please do it. But for that, Mr. Kenny, universities have to come in support. The students actually want to learn all these things. I'm in touch with hundreds of Nigerian students. Let me be honest, hundreds of Ghanaian students. They want to learn, but they want somebody to help them. You're getting my point. They are ready to buy laptop. They are ready to buy internet, but they want that university should take initiative to, yes, provide them this mentors, these coaches, international coaches. Let they come and they teach them. So I want your views small on this.
My views is quite simple. Let's be frank with you.
Yeah.
My view is such that that kind of idea can only occur in private universities.
Private universities.
Let me be frank with you.
Okay.
Because federal universities are corrupt people. The VC are corrupt. The pro-chancellor are corrupt. You understood what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
I don't want us to go too much on that. And also, the only way they are not going to have it is to have people. I'm not boasting. People who are truthful like myself. People who have focus. People who believe in God. People who are ready to sacrifice. Who also have children that they're looking onto, that at one point in time, I will not live forever. I will leave this earth for my children. What do I bequeath for them? It's not the money you bequeath to your children that matters. It is legacy. We have few people like me that have such legacy. it means that you need people like me who will look straight into the eye of the people and say, we want to do something right. And also people that have extensive goodwill. Because for you to implement what is right in Nigeria, even in private university, you must have a goodwill. They must know you. You must be well connected. You must be influential. Because if you are not, you must also have the buy-in of the leaders. Because say, for instance, if you want to go to university, the pro-chancellors, the VC will come your way. They will want to squeeze your money to get money from you. And yet they don't have the power to force the student to do it. You know, this thing is a willing decision. It's not part of their curriculum. It should be on enterprise network. So what we're saying is this. It is better to go through business schools that are accredited, of which are a sample of them. The students who are willing, we don't need any government intervention. And we are connected to so many students. And people like us who have political will, who are connected university owner, who can sit with the owner one-on-one and discuss in a manner that, one, this is for progress. It's not every time we look at money. We must look at how to impact and change the society. So what we're saying is we only need few people with same vision, and we will hit the ground running. It is doable, it is possible, it is achievable, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be successful. What it means is that like will look for like. Like, for instance, now, somebody like me will look for somebody of the same vision, that we share the same vision, that will put a monetary gain apart and say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy that will stand test of time. I want to open the eye of the world. Nigerians are the most resourceful youth that we have on this earth. Very intelligent and very savvy. But the few of them who have opportunity, they're using it for criminal tendency, cyber fraud. But we still have some that are interested. And it's only people like us that have the right vision. We have sized a few of us that we can sit in and say, look, with my age, I don't need to defraud. How can I defraud at 60? What do I need the money? Do I want to carry the money to heaven? So I've gone to a state, and because of the fact that I have faith in God. So you need people that have open heart to be able to navigate the terrain, to be able to create an enabling environment that will log in. So we cannot go into it through a government network because of corruption. We can only go through a private network, a business school, and ability to sit down with them. And also it means that any expert across the world must have a representative in Nigeria who can sit down face to face, and they respect them for being truthful. That is the only way we can get it done. We can get as many thousands as possible. As I gave you example, I even know about African and Asian university networks, of which I'm a member. So we know, and quite a lot of proficient lecturers from India are in Nigeria. You can imagine. Some of them are teaching across our federal university through this network, and impacting significantly through training program, training and retraining. That's what we need to change a national consciousness. It is doable, it is possible. That's why we are all in the process of being involved. That's why, for instance, I'm involved in public affairs. I talk on radio every day to raise the consciousness. I talk on TV every day, and I'm involved in public affairs, sensitizing the conscience of the nation. And you can see the response of the youth. Some of them are quite very happy. I think it's doable. Only the few with same vision can create a change. Give them word of assurance. Give them my contact. Give them anything. Let us interact. Let's see how serious they are. Because some students, they can appear to be serious, but when it is time to implement the right thing, they will be dilly-dallying. But some of our youth are looking for shortcuts. Some of them don't want to, work proficiently. They want to go through shortcuts.
Right.
So what we're saying is people can express interest, but be very careful of African youth. They're very smart when it comes to fraud. They can appear to be serious, but it's only when you test your reality that you'll be able to know they are on the right trajectory. And you need somebody who is firm, who doesn't have criminal mind, who is straightforward, who has the spirit of God in them, who is interested in laying legacy to redirect this youth. It is doable and it is possible.
Amazing. And yes, Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kenny. Like you have mentioned all those points, and of course, yes, we are going to discuss. And you are right, like private universities can take more advantage. That's why even in India, private universities they are growing more. Even when I did my masters, like I did my one of course from Harvard University, online. But one my masters I did from India, but I did from a private universities. So I understand that yes, private university are more trustable today as compared to government universities. It's everywhere. And second important thing I just want to add on over here before I just wind up. I know there are a lot of students, even I am in touch with a lot of government universities of Nigeria, their students with the students, and they actually want to learn all these things. But now the problem is they are in government universities, so they are not doing it. That's what I say, choose your university wisely. I'm not saying that this university is bad, I'm not here to say that. But what current trend is growing, what is growing in the market, what new things are coming. If private universities are adopting all these things, better go and switch to those universities. Don't just go for government universities because only in sake of getting job or something. Go to private universities. The private universities are doing exceptionally well, not over in Nigeria but all over the world right now. So that's my last thing, and thank you so much, Mr. Kenny, for coming to this podcast.
Let me
So
share one last thought with you,
yes, yes,
so that
please,
let
of
us
course.
balance it. My last
Yeah,
thought is, it is not compulsory they should go to private university to learn.
yeah, yeah.
They can
Okay.
learn independently.
Yes,
They can learn
yes.
through an established network. Because
Yeah.
the curriculum we are talking about is not curriculum that has to do with the degree awarding.
Not at all.
So
Not at all.
it's not compulsory for them to change their university. They can still learn through an established network. That's why I'm saying
Yes.
now that in my own discussion with you, let's create an institution out of what we're talking about. Let's create
Yes.
an enabling environment. We're talking of a digital board world. So people can
Yes.
register directly
Yeah,
through
yeah, of
coordination.
course.
So it is not support. For instance, even if we go to a private school, yes, the student will show interest. We have to have them in bulk. It's because of their presence. So we can still get them through, because when you want to do business with them, you need what we call a special purpose vehicle. You can't go as an
Yes.
individual. You must go as an institution to sell the product offering and offers to them. It is
Of
the
course.
institutional framework that we will use to penetrate all those ones. So they can either come directly through our institutional framework or also do it through their university. It is not take for instance, if somebody have gone out of university, maybe he has a BSc, he doesn't have
Yes.
money to go to for MSc, and yet he want to acquire a digital certificate. Will he have to go back to university again? Will he have to go back to private university and pay a whole lot of money? No, we can do it. That's why I'm saying let's form an institutional framework so that people can. We're talking about a virtual service. We can provide a virtual service, and everything can be done seamlessly with or without any university framework.
Right. Right. Yo, I completely agree with you on this. Yes, you're right. Because, yeah, of course, you don't need even private universities to go and learn new skills. You can just go right now. They are going to USM mentors and they are charging huge prices for like what they charge. So, yeah, let's plan something. Of course, I am planning a lot of things, as you also know, to bring to, Africa and let the students learn because that's our goal, like to teach a lot of students in them. So thank you so much, Mr. Kenny, for coming to the episode. It was a great episode, and I thank all my viewers for showing up. I hope you get a lot of insights from this episode. I see you guys next week. Till then, have a nice day.
Bye bye.
Yes.